Hello. Hello. Hello and welcome to City Club. I am Jill Bernstein. I am the Vice President of City Club, standing in today for President Allison Roberts, who is enjoying a well-deserved getaway following her retirement. I am proud to serve in this capacity because I believe so deeply in our mission, which is to inform, connect, and engage our community to strengthen the civic health of our region. Since 1993, we have emphasized civil conversations and listening to others, almost unique in today's climate and certainly something to treasure. Today is part 3 in a series of forums that will help us to make informed decisions on what is a long and some say complicated ballot. Candidates for the Port Commission, a discussion of the pros and cons of increasing the size of the commission from 3 to 5, an examination of the need for a levy to support our schools, and a discussion of the work of the Charter Review Commission and their initiatives that will appear on the ballot will be all part of today's conversation. It is our goal to make this as interesting and as informative as possible. The ballots are being mailed today, and hopefully today's presentation will help you to make informed decisions about the direction that we should take for our community and the leaders that will help take us there. If you missed the first 2 forums of our election series, you can find videos that tape recorded the candidates for the city and county council positions, and I know that you will find them to be interesting. In November, we will be focused on public health with an impressive speaker who's actually in the room with us today, Dr. Alan Lifson. Dr. Lifson, right over there, woo! You won't believe his resume. It'll be part of our promotion for the event, but he is really as knowledgeable as anybody could be and he will be discussing the impact of the current federal administration's policies and the impact that they've had on our public health infrastructure and on our global health. I know that you are all interested in that topic, and you won't want to miss this. And because of the Thanksgiving holiday, this meeting will be on the 3rd Wednesday of the month, not the 4th. So that's November 19th. You'll be getting notices through your email, but be sure not to miss that exciting program. I do want to acknowledge that this beautiful venue is the ancestral home of the Coast Salish people who have lived in the Salish Sea Basin since time immemorial. Please join me in expressing our deepest respect and gratitude for our Indigenous neighbors, the Lummi Nation and the Nooksack tribe, for their enduring care and protection for this beautiful land. Is anyone here today a new member? Welcome. Why don't you stand up and let us welcome you? Hello. And we really are happy that you can be here at the table for what I believe to be Bellingham's finest forum for civic discourse. As always, I would like to thank all of our volunteers who make our problems possible. They make our problems possible, yes. But they also make our programs possible. They could, you're waiting for Allison to come back from vacation, and you'll be happy to have her here. She's actually competent, but I'll do my best as we go forward. There is another way that we are helped, and that is with the financial support of our sponsors. These are organizations and individuals who value the role of City Club in keeping us strong and alive to facilitate these important civic conversations. This month, we are so pleased to have a new sponsor, Cascadia Radio Group. And the 5 radio stations that are part of the radio group will be running regular spots featuring City Club in our programs. And we are deeply grateful that they have stepped forward to support us along with our longstanding friends, each of whom who have been listed on the table tent, which is located on your tables. Please join me in really a strong round of applause for all of our friends of City Club. And I'm going to ask you to whether or not you can raise your support to a sponsorship level. And if you yourself might know a business or an organization that can join us as a sponsor, please reach out, let us know, and we'll make the calls. We're happy to do outreach to everyone in our community to try to make this organization as strong and financially viable as possible. When we look at our budgets, these sponsors are the ones who make a lot of what we do possible. On that note, you should be aware that the board has voted to raise dues for the coming year. 2 changes you'll want to keep in mind are that in January, individual dues will be raised from $40 to $60, and household dues will be raised from $70 to $100. Membership, though, is still good at the current levels until January. And on your table tent, on the one that has the sponsors, you'll see QR codes. And if you click on that today, you can renew your membership at the current levels. So act now, save money. And if anybody in the room is not a member of City Club, see Robin, the woman who's wearing a blue sweater at the front desk. She's going to help you to become a member, and you're going to enjoy the monthly conversations that we have in this room, always informative, always interesting, and always helping move our community forward in a positive direction. So help us to be a strong voice for democracy in our community and become a member. Now, silence your cell phones, and we're going to have a series of moderators today, and at a brisk pace, we're going to be changing moderators, speakers, and issues. So we're going to have to move forward a pace. Our moderator for the first 2 presentations will be former President Jim Britton. Join me in welcoming Jim and our candidates for today's forum.
Welcome, everyone. It's really a pleasure to see all of you here for another one of our forums. And as Jill said, it's jam-packed. I just wanted to add to Jill's remarks, we actually have 2 new sponsoring members. So I wanted to make sure that the second one was also acknowledged. And this one is at the highest $2,500 level, and that's Puget Sound Energy. So. So Jill mentioned we're going to do 4. I'm going to just briefly talk about the timeline. The first one, we're going to be about 25 minutes in length, and it will be the Port Commissioner race between the incumbent Campbell and the challenger Carly James. The next 15 minutes or so will be addressing the ballot measure to increase the number of port commissioners from 3 to 5. I will also moderate that one. And Port Commissioner Michael Shepard will speak in favor of the proposition, and Port Commissioner Bobby Briscoe will speak against it. Next 15 minutes will be addressing the Bellingham School District levy, and our committee member Garrett O'Brien will be the moderator for that, and the superintendent of the Bellingham schools, Dr. Greg Baker, will be the speaker. The last 20 minutes is going to be kind of warp speed. We're going to try to address 12, get it, 12 charter amendments proposed by the Charter Review Commission, and you'll be voting on all of those. So we're going to have 20 minutes, and we're going to briefly go through what is a charter, how does the amendment process work, how did it work this time, and then Dan Raz and Liz Darrow will discuss 5 or 6 of the more controversial and interesting of those. So let's turn now to the current speakers, candidates. So thank you both for coming and joining us here today, and for running for office and putting yourself on the line to serve the Whatcom County community. We really appreciate it. Let me at first go through the ground rules for this forum. I will pose a question that has been our our committee has come up with a number of questions. I will pose a question to one of you, and you will have 90 seconds to respond. And we have timers. Okay. And when you have 15 seconds left, you'll get that. And when you're done, it'll say stop. And please promptly conclude your remarks at that point. And then I will start with one of you for each question, and then I will alternate who goes first. By way of background, thought it would be good to just talk about what is the port and what it does in brief terms. So according to the port website, the Port Commissioners is a nonpartisan, 3-person elected body that oversees all Port of Bellingham operations by providing policy directions and decisions in public meetings. The port owns and administers over 1,600 acres of public land and making it one of the largest, if not the largest, commercial commercial landlord in the county. So the first question, which I will direct to both of you, and after the first person has responded, I will repeat it. For this one, we're going to start with challenger, Ms. James. Please introduce yourself and say why voters should vote for you.
Hello, friends and neighbors. Is this a good volume? Can you hear me in the back? Okay, great. My name is Carly James. I'm running for Port Commissioner. Like Commissioner Bell, I'm a business owner in Whatcom County. I'm an accountant. I'm an artist. I'm a musician. That means I'm a leader, I'm trustworthy, I'm a collaborator, and I'm a listener. This month, my husband and I celebrated 21 years in business and marriage. We've made it through by being adaptable, persistent, and community-minded. And those are the values and work ethic I will bring to the Port Commission. I've spent nearly half of my life contributing to creating a vibrant and accessible downtown Bellingham. From my shop on State Street to Chestnut Avenue to Grand Avenue to the Granary. I am deeply rooted in this place with an authentic understanding of who we are and what makes us special. Whatcom County deserves a port that protects what makes us us. Our small businesses and artists, our fishers and farmers, our working families, the Salish Sea that connects us all. When we talk about economic development and growth and change, I'll make sure we do it equitably so that every part of Whatcom County benefits, and I'll make sure we do it in a way that preserves the spirit of who we are.
Thank you. I'll repeat the question. Please introduce yourself and say why voters should vote for you.
Hello again. My name is Ken Bell, and in way of introduction, I am an entrepreneur. I'm on my 4th company, always in the recycling and disposal business. My current company remediates contaminated soil. Whenever there is an oil spill or whenever there is a pipeline leak, my company responds. Most of my work today is in northern Canada. My range has been from the Arctic Circle all the way to Antarctica for where I do business because I've been trained in working in remote locations. That's typically where my company has found itself. I am married to Dee Dee for 32 years. I have 2 wonderful daughters with 2 granddaughters, and we finally got our first Y chromosome in my grandson from my oldest daughter. Didn't think I was capable in my line of doing that. But really, the reason that I'm running is I just have heard over the last number of forums, there is a huge discussion about housing, and really the part of the equation that we're involved in is economic development. And the port is responsible for bringing jobs to this community, and my voice should be loud and clear. We are here to create work so that people can afford to buy their own homes. We're here to create working wage jobs, develop properties along the way that will create work for people to have living wage jobs.
Thank you. Okay, for the next question, I will start with you, Mr. Bell. What distinguishes the role of the commissioners on the one hand from that of the port director and staff on the other?
Well, this is pretty easy, and we've just recently made a change. The commission is responsible for one hire and one hire only. Our job is to hire the executive director. The running of the port is a full-time job, and it is done by the executive director. The role of the commission is to provide policy. For those of you that don't know, it is not a full-time job. We rarely get paid. I think the other guys will speak to that as well. But our job is policy making. Our job is to be in the community, to give the community the direction it needs to instruct the executive director. The executive director is responsible for 100-member staff and responsible for making sure that the policies that the commission puts in place are carried out. We've recently gone through a significant change because it was clear that that was not happening to the satisfaction of this commission. So that change has occurred. A new director will be brought on board with the sole purpose of executing the vision that we have determined from the community. I think that's, you don't even need to hold the card up.
Thank you. Ms. James, what distinguishes the role of the commissioners on the one hand from that of the port director and staff on the other?
So us port commissioners, or these port commissioners, and me, potentially future port commissioner, we are your elected representatives. So what we bring to the port is the public mandate. Port commissioners set priorities, and those are guided by the vision of the port. Staff brings technical knowledge, operational expertise, incredibly valuable, but commissioners are there to shape the direction of the port by approving policies and projects that serve the public interest, that reflect our shared values, and that align with the long-term vision of Whatcom County. So among the important tasks by the next Port Commission, it's going to be hiring our next executive director. And that's why I feel it's incredibly important that I'm elected to the Port Commission so that we as a community have a stronger voice in deciding this very important staff.
Thank you. Okay, for this question, we'll start with Ms. James. Over the past 20 years, many would say that the development of the currently seen at the waterfront has been underwhelming. What specific policies and practices would you employ to prevent future missteps that seem to have delayed a robust development of the waterfront property?
Yeah, this is an issue that's important to my heart, and it's because I moved my business down to the waterfront to the granary building. So maybe you've seen my shop down there, Bison Bookbinding and Letterpress. And that was really my entrance into understanding how important the work the port is, and how it has an impact on small businesses like mine. So I think in the future, you know, the phrase is due diligence. We just need to make sure that future developers are fully vetted and that we're selecting companies that share our core values and share our vision. And what's going to make that even easier to do, or even possible to do at this stage, is for the port to have a vision for the waterfront. I've been going to commission meetings for the last several months, and you can see how commissioners operating in a power vacuum without an executive director there and without a community vision really has an impact on the quality of decisions that are coming out. So we need to make sure that moving forward, the community voice is prioritized.
Thank you. Okay, for this one, we'll start with Mr. Bell.
Do I get that one?
Oh, no, wait a minute. You still have to answer that question.
I just want to know, for the time we don't use, are we banking that? Didn't think so.
I'll give you the question. Over the past 20 years, many would say that the development currently seen at the waterfront has been underwhelming. What specific policies and practices would you employ to prevent future missteps that seem to have delayed the robust development of the waterfront property?
Yeah, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to challenge the premise that they've been delayed. So the thing you need to understand, and one thing this underscores, is our ability to communicate this has not been good. But you need to understand from what we've been through. The first thing is we did not have the ability to repair any infrastructure on our port until February of 2019, when we struck a landmark agreement with the Lummi tribe. Every permit to do any work on the waterfront was challenged by the up to the Corps of Engineers and denied until we came to an agreement with the tribe. So until 2019, our ability to even replace simple infrastructure was not only delayed, but it was stopped. This commission came to the table and approved a landmark decision with the Lummi tribe, and we also created friends for life through that. When you go through battle with somebody like the Lummi tribe, you create friends in that environment. Not only did we get that accomplished, they've got fishing fleet moorage for their boats in perpetuity, and we have the ability to start infrastructure repair. We got that agreement just in time for us to start to file permits, and then we hit COVID. So we had no ability to repair even basic infrastructure until 2019. On the waterfront discussion, I will discuss that a little later if I'm given the opportunity, but we didn't have the ability until we struck the agreement with the tribe.
Thank you. Okay, this one I will start with you. Given the mandate to grow the county's economy, what criteria would you use to evaluate new and/or expanded business activity?
Yeah, given this mandate, I will say there's nothing more important to us than industrial ground. The one thing that we are in charge of is growth, and we have sorely lacked in our ability to develop industrial ground. And we need to clearly make the airport a priority. We need to clearly delineate industrial ground and keep it separate from housing and those kind of communities. Work sounds like what work sounds like. Work is not always quiet. A backup beacon on a forklift makes a noise it makes. So having proper buffers, having an expanded industrial base, including the airport, including our working waterfront. The most important asset we have is our shipping terminal and our fishing community. Those two communities create more work on our waterfront than anything we could possibly do. We finally got the approvals to go forward with our cleanups and rebuild our shipping terminal dock. It took 2 years and over $4 million worth of permitting costs just to get a cleanup done. Now that we have got that in place, we started the cleanup on our shipping terminal, and it is now active again, as you all may have heard. We are now searching for the proper businesses to put in that will make and maximize that asset. For those of you who don't know, when it was in full operation, it generated $65,000 a day in wages. That is the greatest asset we have for working waterfront.
Thank you. Ms. James, given the mandate to grow the county's economy, what criteria would you use to evaluate new and/or expanded business activity?
So the criteria is simple, and it just comes back to public interest, shared values, and long-term vision. I am a new candidate. I've never done anything like this before. I've been working on this for 5 months. And so my understanding of our working waterfront has broadened exponentially. And I was somebody who was maybe like you, didn't fully understand the opportunity that we have on our waterfront. So I'm really excited about the work that the port's doing with our shipping terminal. This is a unique feature that exists because of where we are geographically. And what I've come to understand is not only is this where we're going to create jobs, but this is how we generate revenue for the county, for the port, to continue growing economic development all over. So I think that the first step here is just making sure that we have the community on board and make sure that everybody understands that we've had a functioning shipping terminal. We've had neighbors safe and informed on South Hill. We've had guest and visitor moorage on the Whatcom waterway. We can have all of these things again if we work together and have clear communication from the port. And I also just want to say that growing our economy, inviting new businesses here is important, but we also need to make sure that we are prioritizing retaining the businesses that are already here. As a business owner in Whatcom County, I can tell you that support is needed.
Thank you. And now we'll return to you to start, Ms. James. What are the expected results on the port budget from recent federal actions such as tariffs, reduced commerce and travel from Canada, changes with grants, etc.?
This is going to be a question that's going to be easier for me to answer once I'm actually a port commissioner, because I haven't had the opportunity to dig into port budget and understand all of the way these projects are financed. Although I'll tell you, I'm very excited to do it. During the pandemic, when we had to close our business, I went back to school. I went to Western. I earned an accounting degree with an operations concentration. So I'm very excited to put those skills into work and get into some governmental accounting spreadsheets and budgets and all of that. But I can just tell you from my own, my own small business here in Whatcom County, trade wars and tariffs, these things have had a tremendous negative impact on my business and other small business owners that I know in Whatcom County. So I want to make sure that when we talk about growing our economy here, we are creating some resiliency so that we can weather any sort of changes and negative impacts that are going to be thrown at us by the federal government. Also, other challenges that we're facing from climate change, uncertainty, all of these things. We need to make sure that we have a resilient economy here.
Thank you. Mr. Bell?
So
Go ahead if you're going.
This is relatively easy. Yeah, thank you. There's no business been impacted quite like mine because I do a lot of my work in Canada. I have seen the effects of the tariffs firsthand because we used to build, most of our equipment in the U.S. And because of tariffs on metal, we've had to go across the border. We've seen firsthand the impacts of an unstable economic policy and the impact of tariffs on our business. We've witnessed what it takes to manufacture in other places, and we have started to do that. I will tell you that 3 things need to happen. The first one is we need to stop depending on the Canadian dollar for our airport. We need to generate tourism. We need to generate an economy from the inside of Whatcom County, which means we have to start to look at ways to bring people to our assets. We need to bring people here to enjoy the San Juan Islands, to bring them here to enjoy Galbraith Mountain. They need to be flying here as the source, and we have to stop the dependence on the Canadian dollar for the fluctuations at the airport. From an economic development standpoint, we just need to be steady. This Port Commission got together and decided this year, with the changes that we've made with the executive director, is we decided to start to focus on the top 3 areas that we need to put our budget. And those areas include Squalicum, Blaine, and the waterfront.
Thank you. So this one, we'll start with you, Mr. Bell. Where do you stand on expanding the commission from 3 to 5 commissioners, and why? And if you support it, do you support adopting the current county council districts, or do you favor another districting scheme?
Yeah, this is easy. Part of the discovery has been understanding how the port works. And what we found over the last short while was that the port tended to operate in silos and communication didn't happen as freely as it could have throughout the port. I support the move from 3 to 5 because it would, as we went through the last year, there would have been nothing I would have loved more than to have a conversation with my fellow commissioners. It was a very difficult thing to have everything funneled through the executive director, which is where all communication has to go. It is a violation of the law for us to talk to each other. I can't even talk to them today about business while they're sitting here. So that is a dysfunctional format for me. I support it. I support the 5 commission model for that reason. Just being able to bounce your ideas off. And for those of you that know me, you know that I think out loud, and sometimes I say crazy things and I don't realize it until I get that "you idiot" look. Thank you, my wife. But I need that experience in order to verbalize and to have that feedback come through. And that feedback loop, it is important for me to have one-on-one dialogue with other commissioners. That is a key component of running the port. I will also say that we've had some difficulties with our contracting. For those of you that don't know, the Harcourt contract was signed prior to this commission's involvement. It was Commissioner McCauley, Commissioner Robbins, and Commissioner, it wasn't Briscoe, that signed the Harcourt. They needed to talk about it.
Thank you.
I'm afraid of you. You scare me.
Ms. James, where do you stand on expanding the commission, the port commissioners from 3 to 5, and why? And if you support it, do you support adopting the current county council districts, or do you favor another districting scheme?
Yes, I support expanding the Port Commission, and I encourage all of you at the election in November to support it as well. We have an organizational culture at the port that has turned away from community input, and this measure is on this ballot because we, the community, want to be up there and be represented, and our diverse perspectives represented on the port. And I know that it's hard. I've actually never been in a room with all 3 port commissioners outside of a commission meeting. And so I just want to say, I'm not here to just critique you all personally, because the culture of the port has been allowed to be nurtured for over 100 years. So this is not anything personal against the gentleman in the room with me. This is just about looking to the future and saying, what do we want for our future? The past was the past. It's over now. What we can do is look at this moment and forward, and we have the power right now to say, we want more voices on the commission. Let's make that happen. And I'm looking forward to, once this passes, to getting information from the consultant that's going to be advising on how we roll out more districts. But I do feel like the 5 county council districts, those were redrawn relatively recently. So I'm interested in that.
Thank you. The last question, and I'll start with you, Ms. James. How would you improve public communications with the port and increase public participation? And do you support moving commission meetings from weekday afternoons to evenings?
Yeah, I think people, if there's anyone here that knows me, I'm down. I'm down to try different things out to make sure that this works for all of us. It's hard. I've been going to commission meetings regularly for the last several months, and it's hard to make time to go. So I understand why community members don't always show up. We're busy, we're at work. I look at my role as commissioner as being accessible to you. So I am very embedded in the community. I work downtown on the waterfront almost every day. You can come find me, you can talk to me. And yeah, I just want to make sure that the port is going beyond meetings, doing the work to connect. Because when I have had opportunity to speak with staff about the feedback that I'm hearing from the community, they are so receptive and so eager to hear that feedback. So I want to make sure that that continues. And then I also just, one thing that I noticed, Ken and I have been doing a bunch of things together the last several days. He probably has he could probably answer all my questions for me, because he's just heard me answer these questions over and over again. What I hear from Ken is just a lot of time spent explaining why we are where we are, and again, looking to the past. So I just want to say, let's have a little reset here. Let's get excited about the future. The past is helpful to know how we don't want to proceed, but I think that we can look forward together.
Thank you. Mr. Bell, how would you improve public communication with the port and increase public participation? And you support moving commissioner meetings from weekday afternoons to evenings.
Yeah, let me also reiterate this. We have been together a lot, and if every candidate debate were like ours, this world would be a better place. I consider Carly a great friend, and I think she is a wonderful human being, and we will be friends beyond this. And I wish that for our entire political community. I just wanted to get that out of the way before I said, you can't really know where you're going until you know where you've been. So for us to go through the tribal negotiations, for us to go through 40 years of neglect and figuring out how to rebuild buildings that are falling through the dock in Blaine, you have to know what caused that. For contracts to be drafted that were absolutely abhorrent, that needed to be restructured, you have to know what was wrong with the past ones. So building on that experience, we have changed the way we do contracts. We have changed the way that we do infrastructure repair. We have changed the way we communicate as a commission because of what we've learned. That experience should not be thrown away, especially when it comes now to time to build new infrastructure on our waterfront. We are going to need a new treaty with the tribe, and you're going to want tried, true professionals in that role that understand where that is. From You're not my friend. I'll leave that at that, but I will say, did I answer your question? I had to get that out because she tweaked me.
I don't think you did, but that's okay.
She tweaked me.
So thank you both for that. Concludes this forum. It was a quick one because we're doing a lot today. Thank you both. And then Commissioner Briscoe and Shepard, if you would come up, please.
We got name tags.
I think we have name tags. Jill? Name tag?
This paper right here is fine.
No, you can fold it. Okay. All right, just do that. Okay. Whatever. Okay, so thank you for agreeing to come and debate on this important measure. And this is the debate over whether the proposal to expand the Port Commission from number of commissioners from 3 to 5. And so Michael Shepard is going to speak on in favor of that proposal, and Bobby Briscoe against it. And so each of you will have an initial 4 minutes to make your case, and then I'll have a few follow-up questions. And why don't we start with the side that's proposing it, Commissioner Shepard.
Great. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me today. I feel a little bit left out that I didn't get to be on the last panel. I am also running for re-election this year, but it would just be me talking because I don't have
Exactly.
an opponent. So I understand, but I was kind of missing some of those opportunities to answer questions there. I do appreciate you having me and engaging in this issue. It's been my privilege to be a commissioner for the past 8 years, and to have the opportunity to be a commissioner again after this election cycle. I came into my first time running with a existing belief that the commission should be expanded from 3 to 5. It was something that numerous people talked to me about at forums, meetings, when I was out doorbelling as an initial candidate. And I saw that as a clear interest of the community that was expressed to me. And then, early on, I just saw what I thought were values in greater diversity of opinions on the commission, greater representation throughout the community so that more people, depending on where they live, feel the ability to be part of this form of local government and to help with the kind of accountability and representation that we have throughout Whatcom County. I knew Whatcom County was a big place and that we only had 3 commissioners and 1 port representing all of that population and that county. Since being on commission, I have observed some other process-related things that I think are important about the expansion. I still see the opportunities for greater representation, greater diversity of opinions, and just greater reach of this level of government. But a couple of those things, and Ken already talked about them a little bit, is just some of that process of us not being able to have one-on-one conversations, can't send texts, can't make phone calls, can't go on a walk with other commissioners. I find that to be a restrictive level of bureaucracy that prohibits us from having robust dialogue both in and out of our regularly scheduled meetings. We are able to have those conversations when we're on a commission meeting, but I will tell you, being live streamed on YouTube with the reporters in the room is not always the easiest place to have a nuanced conversation. It's not always the easiest place to have exploratory or vulnerable conversations or ideas. That is the forum we have currently, and this commission does a really fantastic job of adhering to those public meeting act requirements, and we just do not have business conversations outside of regular meetings. My kind of last pieces of observation is that the current power structure of the commission over empowers the executive director to make decisions on behalf of our population and our government. The executive director of the Port of Bellingham is an appointed position by the commission. It is not an elected position, but with the 3-commission structure, power gets centralized in that position because no 2 commissioners can talk, and we have to kind of funnel information through that one individual. And so I just see this as kind of a governance benefit of moving to this model. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Briscoe, case against?
Well, there had to be a con guy for this, and this is me. I'll tell you, I'm not entirely against it. It's up to the people of Whatcom County. In 2015, in the Bellingham Public Library in the basement when I was running for office, I was asked the same question: where do you stand on 5 commissioners? And my answer then was it was up to the people of Whatcom County. It's not up to me. Where I stand really doesn't matter. It's up to the voters. And I've been asked several times since then on YouTube at Port Commission meetings and our discussions, and I stand in the same place. It's not up to me. I have some reservations about it. I'm not opposed to it, but I have reservations about it, and I think there's things that people need to understand that can happen that are different from now. I have a serious issue with transparency, and Michael and I we've combated about this in our commission meetings in the open public meeting. Right now, you have the most transparent commission you can have. We cannot talk to each other unless we're in front of you, the people that own the Port of Bellingham. That's when we can talk about. We can talk about ideas. We can talk about what we want to do. We can talk about what the people bring to us that want to do. And yeah, it can get to a point to where it's kind of, I don't know if you call it scary, but it's embarrassing or it's hard to do. But I don't have a problem with that. If I got something to say to somebody, I'm going to say it. So when you go to a 5 commission, in my view, when you go to a 5 commission or a 5-person commission, that all goes away. I can speak with Michael, I can have lunch, or I can go to his house and have lunch with him. We can have a discussion. Okay, you don't know what we're talking about. Okay, that's not transparent. Okay, if I'm the third wheel, and I've got 2 commissioners talking about something, I don't know what they're talking about. How do I operate with not knowing what my fellow commissioners have been talking? Right now, I know what my fellow commissioners have been talking about because we're all talking together in front of you. We've got 75 public port districts in the state of Washington. 69 of them operate with 3 commissioners. Some of those port districts are larger than ours. For me, if the public wants to tell us something or whatever, you pick up a phone, you email, you text. There's communication lines. I don't believe that 2 more people are going to bring that much more communication and diversity to the commission. Whatcom County is the difference. They're the diversity. They're the ideas. And I've always said our greatest asset lies in our people in Whatcom County with their ideas to help us make decisions that makes a better quality of life here. So transparency is the big issue for me. I don't have a problem not talking to my fellow commissioners. When I came to, outside of rule, the executive session, we can talk about things. We have an attorney that sits there, and we have a format that's given to the public before we go into that meeting, and that's all we talk about. Because if we deviate, we're told by legal counsel, no, you can't go there. And we don't make decisions there. We try and figure out, what, if that's a direction. Done? Is the doorbell?
I don't know what the bell is.
Oh, okay. So, I'm not opposed to 5. I think there's some problems that are gonna come with it. I think it's gonna politicize the commission. I think it's gonna go into more political thing than it is now. I believe that, truly believe that will happen. It's up to the people, but I think we're gonna bring a lot of problems. Bigger government, it isn't always better.
Thank you. So in the interest of time, I have one question, and we'll do the same format as we did before, which is each of you will have 90 seconds. And I'm going to start with you, Commissioner Briscoe. If it passes, how would the commissioners be selected? If they're elected from newly established districts, how will those districts be established? And to which new districts will each of the current commissioners be allotted?
Well, I'll answer the last one first. It'll be just like any other candidate that's running. You have to live in your district. And if there's a primary, it would remain the same as, we had a discussion with our legal about this not too long ago when we were deciding to do this. We're going to follow basically what goes on now in the candidation process. If you have a primary, it's the district voting. And then in the general, everybody, but it still would be all the same as it is now for 5 districts that are. As far as how do we get to those districts, they're by the Port Commission putting this forward, voting to put it forward. We have control over how that looks.
You, the commissioner.
We as the commission, we can set that up. You can go to an at-large seat if you wish or not. Those are different options. And if the public was to bring this and put this on the ballot and not the court, then the public, that's how that would. My assumption in the discussions we've had is we would follow the 5 districts.
Okay. Mr. Shepard, if the measure passes, how will new commissioners be selected? If they're elected from newly established districts, how will those districts be established? And to which new districts will each of the current commissioners be allotted?
Yeah. So as Commissioner Briscoe already mentioned, this proposal plans to model our current process of elections, where you have to be from the district that you would represent. District only voting in the primary. Everyone in Whatcom County gets to vote for that all commissioners in the general. So we plan to model after the 5 county council districts. I think that's the most simplest. It's already confusing enough to explain what a port commissioner is to people. To also say, oh, and then we have these different districts. It's different from your county council, but it's still countywide. I think harmonizing those would have some benefits for clarity. We do have to go through a redistricting process after, if this does pass. I just wanted to mention one other thing. I don't actually know the answer to your last question about what district we would each be in. That I just don't know. But I do want to mention we did go through a process of soliciting input from the community. We had this on our agenda multiple times. We informed the public that we would treat this essentially like a hearing. We invited the public to come and share their opinions through public testimony at our commission meetings and in email and other forms. We had a lot of people come join us, and I think about 95% of the people who came were in favor, between those who came in person and let us know through other forms of communication.
Thank you. And thank you both for representing both sides on this. And with that, I'll turn it over to our next moderator, Garrett O'Brien.
Thanks, everyone. I'm going to get this name tag set up real quick. Well, I'm glad to see that we have a full room today. I guess that means that the Mariners aren't playing until tonight, huh? You'll notice that this format's a little bit different. We just have the one speaker and giving information about these levies. The reason why we did that is, I'm sure we could find people that are going to gripe about their property taxes being too high, but I mean, really, who's against kids, right? Our community supports our children and our education, but with any growth in a government or an institution like the Bellingham School District, there's always going to be questions and issues that need to be addressed. And so our hope as a committee was to ask some critical questions that might bring to light some of the things that you may think about. And we're very pleased to have Dr. Baker here. He's going to be presenting. You have a slide presentation? Or?
Which I can pass on that.
You can do it.
Whichever you.
Is it ready to go or?
I'll just speak.
Okay. All right. So then we're just going to do some questions that the committee came up with, and we'll get started. We have about 20 minutes for this portion of the program. So thanks for hanging in there, guys. Okay. First question is going to address what the intended use of bonds and the intended use of levies is. So if approved, or I guess before I start, I should say that there's two proposals the Bellingham School District has. One is a renewal of a supplemental operations levy, and the other is a new levy, a facilities maintenance levy. So one is new, one is rolling over and existing. Is that correct?
It's kind of.
Okay, well, okay. So
I'll try to explain it.
Yeah, you have time to talk about that. Okay. If approved, the proposed facilities maintenance levy will represent a new tax for voters and would fund a variety of projects that in the past would have typically been financed by bonds. The adage of bonds are for buildings and levies are for learning doesn't seem to apply to this proposed tax. Can you please explain why this departure from precedent is necessary at this time?
Sure. And thank you for having me. And if I could just share, I'm superintendent. I've been here in Bellingham for the last 16 years. Dr. Gass was a school board member who hired me years ago, and it's been an honor to serve this community. I have 3 children, two of who have graduated and one who's still in the school district. When we talk about school finance, it's a complicated topic. I've spent a lot of years trying to understand it and study it. And when we come forward to our voters, it's after years of thoughtfulness of trying to figure out the right approach for financing our public schools. As you, I'm sure, are aware, in the state of Washington, our Constitution is one of the strongest in the country. It says the Constitution says the paramount duty of the state of Washington is to amply fund public education. The reality is they don't, and we know that. They've been sued through the McCleary decision, et cetera. So part of the model in our state, that the way it's set up is, because the state doesn't fully amply fund it, is local communities raise through levies and bonds. That's one of the strategies that the state does, and puts it to the local communities to supplement what the state sends. Levies and bonds are 2 ways that we can raise dollars in public schools. As you mentioned, bonds are for building is a adage we usually use and will continue to use. Bond is basically taking out a long-term mortgage, like a house, and you're paying it out over 20 years or so. And so we use the bonds when we're talking about building a new facility for the most part. We've often talked about the other part of that is levies are for learning. And that's still true, because the main levy is called an operations levy, and we run that every 4 years. And that levy has the ability to fund people, and it funds 85 to 90% of our budget as a district is people. So that operations levy is a main way that we fund staff in our district. So that's why we talk about learning, because it can hire teachers and nurses and counselors. But there are other kinds of levies. An example is every 4 years with that operations levy, we also run a technology levy. And that levy is focused on technology. So it's not just learning people, but it's technology. A number of years ago, we ran for the first time in the history of our district a transportation levy. And it was just a 2-year levy, and it helped us upgrade our buses. So there's other types of levies. This levy that the 2 levies that we're running, the first one that we call the supplemental operations levy. Every 4 years, we run an operations levy that funds people, funds the teaching. And we ran that in February of 2024, along with the technology levy. So we just ran these 2 levies, and every 4 years we run them. Well, every once in a while, the legislature adjusts the amount we can ask for. It's called a levy lid or a levy cap. And you might have heard that term. Well, this last session, they slightly raised that cap of what communities can collect in their operations levy. So some districts won't need to run the supplemental levy because they'll just wait until that 4-year levy is up again. And if our levy was up this coming February, we wouldn't need to run this supplemental levy. But because we just ran it, we have to wait 3 years till we run it again. And when we run it again, we'll use the new levy cap, and we won't have to have this supplemental. So the supplemental is really a short-term, 3-year, and it's just an adjustment of the amount that the state's allowing us to collect. So that's the supplemental operations levy. The second levy is the facility maintenance levy. And as you mentioned, just like the title, this is about maintaining the facilities that we've already built. And in previous years, we would have used it from a bond. So in some ways, it's not new taxes. It's instead of it being in a bond, it's in a levy. And it actually will save dollars. We think it's fiscally a positive strategy. Because when we put dollars to maintain our facilities, and I'm talking things like a new roof replacement, new window replacement, an HVAC system, the boiler going out, those big systems to keep our schools safe and operating, when they're part of a bond, then they're part of your borrowing money for 20 years and paying back interest. And what we'd like to do is save the bond for big projects, for new construction, just like a home mortgage. But when we talk about a smaller system and replacing that, by putting it in a capital levy, we can collect the dollars the year that we get the dollars and replace that system. And over the course of years, it'll save not paying interest on that. So it's fiscally, we think, and it's a strategy that many districts around the state have done or are moving toward. There's other nuances to that, but that's the short version. So one levy is just adjusting the levy lid that the legislature just adjusted. It'll just be until we run our next operations levy. And the other one is facility maintenance, focus on maintaining our facilities.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for introducing those ideas. You mentioned staffing, and the operational levy would be a lot of that money used for staffing. And across Washington, the number of non-teaching employees has grown faster than that of classroom teachers. And they now make up nearly half of all public school staff. The supplemental operations levy mentions funding for teachers, counselors, nurses, and other staff. Can you clarify how much of that money would be specifically allocated to certified classroom teachers?
Good question. You're right. So as I said, over 85% of our budget is people. And we have what we'd call certificated staff, classified staff, and a third might be administrative staff. Over the past few years, as we've encountered really tough budget challenges, we've decreased administrative staff. And then our certificate and classified get adjusted each year based upon enrollment and need. Our operations levy supports all of those. So I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly how many classified versus certificated per se. We rely heavily on both certificated staff and classified staff. The biggest classified staff, when we think about that, is our food service, our transportation, our office staff, our facility staff, and the biggest one is our paraprofessionals that are in the classroom supporting our teachers. And as we've moved towards inclusionary practices of bringing all kids into the general ed classroom, that's increased the need to have more adults in classrooms to support kids with high needs that used to be more segregated into separate classrooms or programs when we brought them in.
Thank you. As we're looking at the facility maintenance levy, as you mentioned, covering some of the projects that traditionally would have been done with bond money. It brings up the issue of cost overruns and accountability, which is something that we hear a lot about in the community. The Bellingham School District recently completed the construction of a new district office and Seaholm High School, both of which cost taxpayers more than was estimated and approved by voters. The final construction costs for Seaholm High School were $103 million, which was $30 million above the estimate that voters approved. If the facility maintenance levy is approved, what measures will the district take to reduce cost overruns and control the spending?
Yeah, that's a deep question. We could talk about that for a while. So a couple things. One is the statement that projects cost more than you estimate. I've been trying to figure that one out for years, because when you get an estimate for a construction project and it's 5 or 6 years till completion, everybody's wrong. And so one of the things is I've been trying to figure out, how do you minimize being wrong? Because it's just in the last few years especially, the escalation costs have gone way up higher than any projection. Is in our last bond, what we've done is put dollars to design the school before we go out for the bond. So we design it so that we can then price it out and have a better estimate and have less time between when we go to voters and we actually build. Because that's part of the thing, is this takes years to design a bond, do a campaign, go out, get it approved, then you start the process, you bring in the architects, you're guessing so many things. So what we are trying to do is now design it to the best degree we can, price it out, go out, and then be ready to construct sooner. So that's one of the lessons, but it's just hard. If you said, how much is a building going to cost 5 years from now, and you have to tell somebody now, it's hard to do that. In terms of the facilities maintenance levy, what we've done is we've looked at all of our facilities, and we have analyzed over the next 6 years and prioritized what we think the systems are that need to be replaced. So a new roof at Silver Beach, a new boiler at Bellingham, whatever it is, and we've prioritized those. We've worked with a lot of outside folks to give us, so we have the best guess we have, and then you have to estimate what would that cost today, and then what's it going to cost in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and 6 years. And so you build in an escalation estimate, and we'll see if we're right. We're probably not going to be right, but we've tried our best to guess what something will cost in 5 years. It's the nature of how, when we go out for levies and bonds, you have to project in the future. Then each year what we'll do is we will see what the new reality is. Did something break that we didn't plan on? So a boiler went out at a school. Well, that wasn't on our list, but now we got to fix it. And you're gonna have to reprioritize. And then you're gonna have to find out when it's really time to get your roof replaced, and you go out for bid, what's the cost? And you try to hope that you guessed right a few years ago, and you're gonna guess wrong, but hopefully you're in the ballpark. So we spend a lot of time trying to be smart about getting good estimates, but if any of you are in that business or construction or trying to figure out, it's not a perfect science.
Thank you, Dr. Baker. Yeah, the next question that we have is about spending and student outcomes. In the beginning of your presentation, you talked about the state not fully funding education. There's questions about the spending. According to the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, spending per student by Bellingham schools has more than doubled since 2012, increasing from that time at roughly $8,500 a year to $18,500 per student last year. Despite this significant increase in spending, currently 35% of our students fail to meet grade level standards in math and science. If voters approve the new supplemental operations levy, how will you ensure that those funds go towards programs and staff that truly improve student learning and outcomes?
There was a lot in that question, wasn't there?
Yeah.
I would probably disagree with some of how that was framed. If you look at revenue to the school district, let's say for the state, how much the state funds for public education, the percentage of the overall state budget has been going down. Just a number of years ago, is that about 52% of our state budget went to K-12 education. It's dropped down to 46, 44, and I think we'll be at 42%. So the overall percentage of the state budget to K-12 is on a decrease. Now, on the flip side, the actual the dollars has gone up And if anybody wants to follow up with me, I'll be happy to send you these slides. It's pretty powerful and it's addressing your point. If you look over the past 10 or so years at dollars increase from the state, and then you adjust it for inflation, it goes like this. And so there's a difference between the dollar and adjusted for inflation dollar. And inflation, as you all know, has eaten up, is a big factor. It's I guess I would say is it's not a real true reflection that how much more has gone into K-12 education when you adjust for inflation. Our school district, and it's, so the other part of your question was around test scores and such. We could spend a long time on that one. I spent an hour with my leadership team today on that topic and unpacking. There's a narrative that can be out in the country that isn't positive about public education right now. And you can find talking points, and you can try to say people are saying things that are damaging, I think, to one of the most important things that we have in our democracy. And I think if we have the time to actually go deep on your question of test scores, our students are doing amazing. And they're doing amazing in the face of huge challenges. And our staff is doing amazing work. So there's easy talking points that would say, oh, your kids can't read anymore. I disagree with those conclusions. And I'd be happy to sit down with any group of people and go next level of analysis. That I also have a video that I just showed today to a team. Our state superintendent, beginning of the year press conference, spent an hour talking about test scores and doing that. And he does a really nice job of trying to answer some of the things that you just kind of threw out there. I'd be happy to send anybody a link. It's worth watching. And I think he does a nice job of trying to take what part of what your question was and unpack it and really look at how are our students in the state of Washington doing compared to the other states in the country. And overall, we're doing very well. And then when you compare that to the entire world and countries, we have different assessments that can help you compare. And I'm not saying we're perfect in education in K-12 or in Bellingham. We have a lot of work to do. But when you look at the data, I think in a more global space, you'll see that our kids are doing amazing work. Our staff's doing amazing work in the midst of a lot of negative things coming at them.
Thank you for that. Yep, I have 3 kids that graduated from Bellingham Public Schools. They all read really well, so thank you. Probably time for one more question, just about declining enrollment. Both public school enrollment and birth rates are declining. If this trend continues, the Bellingham School District budget will continue to face deficits. How is the district planning to address these changes and maintain a sustainable budget while serving students effectively?
Yeah, another good question. So on average, we have a declining birth rate across the country, in the state, and here locally. We have people having kids later and fewer kids. And so we're seeing that what you said is accurate, is that we have fewer kids being born each year, and we've seen that trend, and it's scheduled to continue. I don't know how long. I was in a meeting with the state superintendent yesterday, and his analysis, his projections that he's getting says at least through 2029 are we going to have declining birth rates. So that means we still got another 4 years potentially of lower birth rates, which then takes 5 more years to get to be kindergartners. And so it's a legitimate concern that not just Bellingham, but many districts around the state and country are facing. Part of what happens when you have lower enrollment is you will get less revenue. In our state, our funding model with the state is per pupil. So if you get fewer kids, you're going to get fewer money. And the first thing you do is you're going to have fewer teachers and fewer nurses and fewer counselors, and you're trying to reduce your staff. That's one way you do it. Or one of the strategies is you just have fewer people serving fewer kids. The other thing that will happen is you have to start reducing some programs and services, which districts across the country are having to do, and we've had to do as well. It then gets to some hard conversations of things that you're used to doing that you can't do anymore. Just a couple examples. And it's not just state revenue. Right now, we're at risk, public education is, with reduction in federal funds as well. We thought we were going to get a big reduction this year. It got pushed back, and so it's next year, but we'll lose federal funding. An example of this impact would be mental health support. When you think about, especially post-COVID, we have kids, let alone adults, but that need mental health services. The state doesn't fund mental health counselors. Prior to COVID, we had 0 mental health counselors in our district. We don't get funded for it. Well, one of the, maybe you could call it a silver lining of COVID, is mental health concern got raised. Currently, because of federal funding and grants and our local levy combination, we have 4 mental health specialists in our district for 10,000 kids. But that's 4 more than we had just 5 years ago. Well, with the loss of federal funding, the loss of enrollment, the loss of the power of the dollar, there's a good chance that goes down. You know, whether that's to 3, 2, 1, or 0 is just an example. So lower enrollment will tense the system. We will lose services, and that's going to be so. And there's a piece of that that's, I'll wrap this up. That it's okay to lose some capacity because of lower number of kids. So with lower number of kids, you might need a few less people. But to the degree that it starts driving out reduction of services, which is where we're at because of the cost of inflation, the state not fully funding it, they have a cap on what we can do locally. It is just putting public schools in a really tough spot to be able to deliver the services that we expect and that we want in our schools.
Well, thank you. We had one more question, but I don't think we're going to have time for it. So I'll just say, as a point of public interest, a lot of expression towards enrichment programs and the importance of enrichment programs for our kids, athletics, the arts. Those things often get stressed when budgets are stressed, and would just like to encourage you to support those, because we hear a lot that those are a lifeline for kids.
Can I respond to that? Or?
Yeah, please do.
I totally agree, and we've worked really hard in our district to try to figure out how to increase access of all kids for athletics and activities. That operations levy, it should be, is where we can help do that. With the McCleary decision, the legislature tried to retitle it to be called an enrichment levy instead of an operations. It should be enriching, because the state should be funding the operations. One of the slides I was going to show you shows our utilities and insurance. 5 or 6 years ago, our cost for utilities insurance, and you'll resonate with this, we got reimbursed for. With the cost of utilities insurance going up, we now have a $3.5 million that the state's not funding that has to come out of our local operations levy. That could be money to enhance athletics and activities. And I can give you example after example. So we need the state, the state's obligation is to amply fund basic education. And if they were able to do that, we could take our enrichment levy or our operations levy and do even more wonderful things to it to give opportunity to all of our kids. Thank you for inviting me today and for supporting education.
Let's give a big hand for Dr. Baker. Thank you.
We have the tape also. Scotch tape. And Dr. Baker, we're going to ask you also to please send to us the link for the slides and the videos that you mentioned, and then we'll try to post them on our website. So when people look at the video of today, they can also access your visual information, and thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started real quick on this last element of the program today, which is the our amendments being proposed to our charter commission. And so Dan Rass and Liz Darrow, who has done a wonderful job, Liz has, well, Dan's been wonderful on the committee too, but Liz has been chairing the current group that is our Charter Review Commission to consider changes that should be made. Let me just step back to say the charter is basically our local constitution for government. We are a home rule community because we adopted in 1978, the voters of Whatcom County voted to set up this this charter, and it basically defines the form of our government and how things should be done in the government in a way that will help provide the best possible response to the interests and needs of our community. So that has been done, and ever since, every 10 years in the charter, we're required to have a review commission. And so last November, 48 different candidates filed to be charter review commissioners. And 3 were elected. This is the way it's set up. 3 are elected from each of the county council districts. So we have a commission of 15 members. Liz presided over that, convened it, etc. And they have, during that year, that is this year, 2025, it's their year to really take a look at the charter and see if there are any changes that should be made, and then work them through their discussions and public forums and other opportunities for the public to be involved, and then to come forward with any recommended amendments. We're operating this year under a supermajority requirement. That is, of the 15 members, 10 must agree that something is significant enough to put it on the ballot. That then is provided to the county council, and the county council places the matters on the ballot. And so we will be considering quite a number of them actually this year. So what we have right now is a conversation to elaborate perhaps just a little bit on that, but also to really focus on about 5 of the upcoming amendments that are being proposed. These are amendments to our constitution, local constitution, and we talked about which ones really maybe have the most substantive questions about them that we should help provide some information about, and that's what we're doing today. So, Dan?
Okay. Thanks, Tim. Can folks hear me out there? Okay, good. Okay, that works. Thanks. I'm Dan Rass. I'm a member of the program committee. With me is Liz Darrow. Let me preface this by saying we had hoped to have two members of the commission come and talk, but the other folks we approached couldn't clear their schedules. So, as Tim noted, the Charter Review Commission met. Liz, by virtue of getting the most votes of any of the 15 who were elected, is the convener, but she was also elected the chair of the commission. So, my first when we began, Jim Britton said, well, we're going to talk about 6 issues. With, I don't think so, thanks. It's like, we'll try to go through 2 or 3. So Liz, could you start us off by saying what it was like to chair this 15-person commission?
Sure, and I'll just make sure everybody out there can hear me okay? Okay, good. Well, I would say this is one of the greatest honors and surprises of my lifetime. The first time I was aware of charter review was 10 years ago. And so this year, the opportunity to serve District 1 and to serve the entire county as a chair was a massive growth opportunity for me. And also, I think everyone in politics should have the opportunity to work in a nonpartisan but truly polarized moment. But the process itself is pretty safe democratically. And as Tim pointed out, this is really a people's process. We only have 7 counties out of 39 that use a charter. And it's meant to really give the voting public an opportunity to engage with government. So what a great thing. And we did have robust public participation. One thing I didn't understand before this year was that we're elected for a 12-year term, but we really only get 7 months because we've got to get all of our recommendations to the auditor in time for it to be on the ballot for all of you to decide. So it is fast. We had 42 amendments that we discussed, and we put 12 through in that supermajority process. So, yeah, I guess I could just say that I wish we had more time, and I wish, I mean, 10 years is a big stretch. To put all of that into 7 months, I think is enormously challenging. And I'm really proud of the 14 other commissioners. Many of them I got to know really well, and I wouldn't have had that opportunity. I think we did really good work trying to balance who we are in our personal lives and what the voters elected us to do, which was to be fair and democratic. And what an awesome thing to see that we can do that in Whatcom County. I think that's rare. It's so beautiful. So I had an amazing time, and I was very tired because it was just such an incredible amount of work. But the questions that we confronted as a body, I think, and I believe my colleagues would say this as well, I think we learned that we can do hard things together when we take the polarization out of it. So I think we're in good shape, y'all. That's what I learned.
I would note that it's rare in this day and this age to get 15 citizens who don't agree with each other all the time together, and get them to come together and speak civilly to each other for 7 months. Well, let us begin. There's a 10-year period between charter review commissions. There are 2 ways we can amend the charter in between. One is that the county council can vote to put an amendment on. And the second is by initiative. And charter proposal number 11 adjusts the calculation of signatures required for charter. Can you speak to that?
Sure. Yeah, there's actually 2 amendments coming toward your ballot, getting in the mail to you today, that talk about the citizens process to adjust the charter. What is important to me about both of them is that they tie the number of signatures required to the executive election. Currently in our charter, there's processes tied to the gubernatorial, our governor's election, processes tied to the executive. I think being a county that's unique in the state, having a charter, it makes sense that we would tie our number of voters required signatures to change the charter or to bring a referendum, tie that to the executive. But to me, what is really important is that someone who doesn't study this stuff deeply can understand what their options are to bring the needs of the public to the government. So in both of those initiatives, I think what we gained was simplicity and consistency. So I do think that both of those amendments will be good for the voters in the long term.
Let's talk for a couple minutes about proposition number 4, which is titled Clarifying the Power and Duties of Elected Officials. Well, what's that really mean?
Okay, so the charter is a constitutional document, so it doesn't do a lot of the flashy things that many of us would like to see happen in government. It really looks at what is the executive branch of our county government, what can they do, some of the budgeting things, salaries, that kind of thing. So this amendment seeks to clarify who is the executive branch. So we all know that we have an executive, but we also have a sheriff, a treasurer, an auditor. I might be missing one.
Assessor.
Thank you, assessor. So that's our executive branch. The charter does not do anything judicial, so it doesn't have purview over the prosecutor, who would also be considered at that executive level. So what this amendment seeks to do is offer some clarity to the people. What do each of these jobs do, and how is the executive, what is the power of that office versus these other folks? And I did promise Tim that I would give really, really quick pro-con. So clarifying roles, great. Whether or not the language proposed clarifies, I think depends on who you ask. Of course, Dan, being an attorney, gets it right away. I need to read it many times because my background is not in policy. So I think it's always good to clarify things, and I think that's a subjective thing. People who don't speak English obviously can't understand any of it. So we have to think about for whom are we clarifying things?
I would note that the state constitution exempts the entire judicial branch from charter government, and in particular the prosecutor's office. So even if we wanted to, we could not affect the prosecutor. We talked about the budget briefly. Proposition number 8 modifies the budget process if it's approved. Why?
Because simply, I think the people have a clear interest in how the money is being spent at the county and city level. And folks oftentimes express confusion about that. A lot of the public comment that we got just wanted to know what's happening with our taxpayer dollars. So this amendment says that if we don't have last quarter's report from the executive's office about where we're at in the budget, an additional ask cannot be made unless there's a natural disaster or something that is going to be obviously better for people to spend some money on.
Go ahead.
You're taking a deep breath in. I thought you were
Yeah.
going to be like, wait a minute. No. So I think one reason that someone might not appreciate this amendment is that the executive's job is huge. And we have a long history, not just in this